Tell us about yourself. Yourself. What are your interests and hobbies? Yes, my name is David Che. I am a Ghanaian. I hold a bachelor's degree in special education from the University of Education Winneba here in Ghana. I have been a special education teacher for the past 8 years, even though I have been in the classroom for 15 years as a professional teacher. I am a very good and effective collaborator and team player at the workplace. I have a rich experience in managing behavior among students. I effectively manage difficult situations in collaboration with other stakeholders in my teaching career. My hobbies are teaching and reading. I also, most of the time, hang out with friends at my leisure times. What motivated you to become a teacher of the subject for which you are applying? Yes, throughout life, right from childhood, I have always loved to be a teacher. I have always found myself to be teaching my peers at school. And so growing up, I got motivated to get trained as a special educator or a special education teacher because I get fulfilled and satisfied when I get the opportunity to support learners who find it difficult and have challenges with learning and studies succeed. That gives me a lot of joy and fulfillment. And so my motivation is as a result of that. Again, back at college, a former teacher of mine got me inspired when he skillfully assisted learners or students with learning difficulties to succeed in school, especially those with special educational needs. And so, by his skillfulness, I got the inspiration to train as a special education teacher. Tell us about your involvement in extracurricular activities that you could coach and supervise. Yes, I get used to coaching and supervising students in engaging in indoor games such as Ludo and Oware. Oware is a local game here in Ghana that students play during their leisure times for fun and for recreation. And most often I get involved and supervise them in playing that those indoor games. What subjects have you taught and at what age levels? Yes, I have been teaching English language and social studies to students with dyslexic tendencies and those with learning disabilities at the junior high school level. This school is an inclusive school where we manage both special education students and with regular school students ranging from age 9 to 18 years. I also plan IEPs and get them implemented for learners with language difficulties as a special education resource teacher here in Ghana. How do you prepare to teach your lessons and what do your lesson plan include? When it comes to lesson preparations or preparing to teach, as a teacher, I make sure I gather all the resources that I will need to make my lessons effective and easily learnable for my students. I get all the equipment, resources, materials that I need. And when it comes to lesson planning, I look out for the subject matter of the lesson to be taught the topic and the content that will go into the lesson. I look at them. Then I also consider what students already know about what I want to teach them. And again, I able to outline and state clearly the objectives of the lesson, after which I look out for the strategies and the teaching methods that will effectively help learners learn the lesson that I want to teach. I also make provision in my lesson plan for um, method and strategies for evaluation, where students' learning is measured. I also plan to accommodate diversity of learning needs among my learners, and all these things go into my lesson plan. And I make provision for remediation, so that where the lessons do not go well, I am able to go back to reteach aspects of the lessons that require to be taught. In that is how my lesson planning goes. Talk about two teaching strategies or methods you effectively use in your classroom. Most times my lessons are student-centered lessons. I use that approach most of the time to introduce new concepts to my students. And then I also use the facilitator approach, where I engage students, or students engage in practical activities that help them to learn the lessons. And I move around the classroom supervising them and guiding them while they engage in the activities to learn the lessons they must learn. These methods are effective and result oriented because it is purely the learner student centered, and that makes the teacher only a facilitator and a guide, supporting and giving feedback to students while they engage in activities that lead them discover and learn the concepts that they must learn. When someone enters your classroom, describe the learning activities in which students are engaged. Most of the times, my classrooms are well organized and orderly, and if anyone enters my classroom, you will see students engaging either in group activities or individual activities, where I go around giving them the necessary support and feedbacks that they need to execute the activities they must go through to learn. What methods do you use to evaluate students' progress? As a professional teacher, I use both the formative and summative evaluation methods and strategies, in addition to diagnostic approach, where we use that to measure both the short-term and long-term goals of learning, teaching and learning in our schools. I also use verbal and non-verbal cues, facial recognition expressions, and in assessing the immediate content assimilation of my learners. Students also practice hands-on on gadgets that they need to learn with, and by observation we are able to measure how much learning they do in school. If you use technology in your teaching, describe how you incorporate it into teaching. Describe any experiences you have with Smartboard. I use language learning apps such as Babel in assisting students to enhance their vocabulary, pronunciation skills, and grammar. I also use computer as a tool for PowerPoint presentations in delivering my lessons. Yes, Smartboard is a computer screen that creates a learning environment for students to interact with through touch. And so as they interact with this interface, have content that they are able to learn through using the user interface of the screen of Smartboard. If you have students who are noisy or non-attentive, share ways you engage their attention without interrupting the lessons. Yes, in regaining student attention and curbing noise and disruption in the classroom, I use positive reinforcement, verbal praises, rewards, and soft and gentle reprimands to get students back into order in order not to disrupt lessons. I also use gestures, body language, and most of the times I also walk towards the students with gentle oral reminders and keep them in order for lessons not to be disrupted. Describe the most difficult problem you have had to deal with as a teacher and how you did solve this problem. Yes, there have been challenging and difficult moments I have faced in my teaching career, but one most difficult one had to do with teaching alphabet sounds to individuals with learning impairment. It was such that I had to record the alphabet sounds one after the other and play them repeatedly to the hearing of the students until majority of them were able to assimilate and pronounce the alphabet sounds with appreciable level of accuracy and competence. Give an example to show that you are a flexible person and that you can make changes to your teaching methods. Yeah, I understand that everyone is unique. Hence, I tolerate different opinions, modify my lessons when the need arises. I also reteach certain aspects when I reflect and realize that most of my students do not understand the concept I try to present to them. I further easily adopt and adapt to the use of emerging and new technologies to aid my teaching. I am also an individual who easily adapt into new environments and situations positively.